Hey, everybody. We are talking about the Constitution this week. Last week we talked about the Declaration. And there's a certain element of that portion of the Declaration that we focused on, the idea of endowed by a creator with inalienable rights. I don't think we talk about it enough, but most people don't realize how much heavy lifting that line is doing to create the rest of the structure. It's like the keystone in an archway. And without that, the whole thing falls apart. What do I mean? So I've just been down various rabbit holes in my research lately, and one of the things that I've been focusing on is, amongst other discussions, how we define rights, how we prove that we have rights, what do rights even mean? Do they really exist? These were questions that lots of people before me and smarter than me have wrestled with, and certainly our founders did as well, and they understood exactly this problem. So when they say that we hold these truths to be self-evident, initially they wanted to say sacred values, but Benjamin Franklin said, no, that's sacred values, too wonky, too laden with other contexts. Inalienable rights as a self-evident truth, self-evident, derivable through reason and logic. Great line. We have these rights because we can rationally and reasonably come to that conclusion. Good wording though. The heavy lifting part, endowed by their creator, we don't give that enough time. And for those of you who are not particularly religious, you gloss over this as quickly as you can. And of course, I understand why. The challenge is this: without the ability to anchor a claim of what is morally right or good in a power outside of human control, right? It must necessarily be defined as preference that is enacted by force. Might makes right. This is a world that we have long sought not to live in. Humans have in recent history found ways out of might makes right. We created rules-based orders, societies based on constitutions, the legitimacy of the vote. These things only work when the society agrees that they ought to work. If you come from a religious perspective, it's easy. Here are these rights that we have. They are anchored in God. God said so. God is greater than us. We don't question it. It's very convenient. It's very easy. You come from a secular perspective. You say, we have these rights because they're self-evident. Okay, well, you've got your rights. Maybe I've got different rights that I prefer. How do we know whose rights are correct? You can prefer yours and I can prefer mine, but we are in this subjectivist, relativist quandary. And so ultimately, it's whoever has the coercive power of guns and jail cells in the government, right, that can enforce their version of the law. This is a substantial challenge. If you don't anchor it in something outside of human control, then when humans change, when values change, when governments change, when preferences change, so do the laws, so do our rights, which for a long time we've tried to minimize. So when you read those words, right, endowed by our creator or a creator with certain unalienable rights, you have to appreciate the founders knew that just making a preference claim for a series of rights, like life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I like that, by the way. I'm on that team. But it's just a claim. It's just a claim of preference. We ought to have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You can make the argument from natural law or moral law, but ultimately, if you take a higher power, if you take the anchor of a higher power out of the equation, all you're left with is, we think we should have these rights. And the crowd simply disagreed because they preferred different types of rights or fewer rights. This is no small problem. And as we move forward as a society, you will see this challenge come up again and again as societies try to legitimize their structure, their form of rule, and the sovereigns, the leaders, right? The presidents, whoever they are, they try to legitimize their rule. They often will be pointing to these other external sources of authority as opposed to just, I'm the one with the gun, and so you do what I say. Consider this historically, right? It was either you were a god king, you were an emperor, or you were a temporal king or queen. And no matter which one of those things and which culture or time or place you might have been, right? It was either the religion element, the mysticism element was bound up with the temporal political leadership, a god king or an emperor, right? Pharaoh. Or you were a king or a queen, and right next to you was the pope, was the bishop, was some cleric or prelate putting the crown on your head. Divine authority is joined with your authority. That's what gives you legitimacy. Sangreal, royal blood, right? Divine right of kings, mandate of heaven, call it all these different things. There's a reason why authority has always pointed this way when claiming legitimacy, because without it, it's just preference. And we can't really live in that world for very long in a very stable way. Food for thought.